Hello and welcome back to another video in our continued series of trying to master data and reasoning. And once again, our today's agenda is to work with a very specific kind of CAT question which requires a particular way of thinking, and try it out and then notice the discussion and learn from it, right? So once again, the process will be as before. My job will be to read the rules carefully, quickly if possible, read them a couple of times, make basic small connections and keep making those connections till the picture improves. And it will not happen immediately. The first 2-3 minutes you might not get a clear view of the story, but you have to keep at it, and you will see that maybe 30 seconds later, maybe 1 minute later, the picture suddenly improves a lot. And then doing the questions is the easy part after that. So once I know already that these are the number of steps it will require, I can have that kind of a patience and attitude towards this problem. I know that is not going to happen quickly. So I can think systematically, be patient, persist with the problem till it gives me openings. So all of this is theory. We will learn straight away by doing. So try out the questions below and then join the discussion. So let's try the next case. I am assuming that you have read it a couple of times at least, tried working the details out, maybe even made some progress at least, right? So we'll go through this case step by step, and once again we will observe that at the very lowest level, at the smallest level, each deduction is going to be very, very easy. So the game is about just keeping at it deduction after deduction. Maybe you should also count how many deductions are involved in the process, just in one big set as such. So that will help you give an estimate of future sets. Okay, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 deductions are not enough. I have to go to 8 to 10 deductions to work out a story like this. So let's see what I mean and how to work this set. So the story is that in a sports event, 6 teams are playing. They are competing against each other. Matches are scheduled in 2 stages. There is a stage 1 and there is a stage 2. In stage 1 there are 3 matches, in stage 2 there are 2 matches. Every team plays any other team only once. So in the whole tournament, every team will face every other team in either round 1 or round 2 and will face any other team only once. So fairly straightforward details so far, and then it says the observation after the completion of stage 1 and stage 2 are given below. So a lot of small pieces of information are given. So let me try and go through them step by step. And once again, as I read a particular rule, it might not make a lot of sense. But as I go through 2 or 3 or 4 rules and try and connect all of them, the picture will emerge. So let's try that process. So the first rule says one team won all the 3 matches. So right now I have very little information. Okay, let me put it in a corner somewhere that a particular team won 3 matches. So one of these guys will end up winning all the 3 matches in the first round. 2 teams lost all the matches. So there are 2 teams, I don't know their names, out of A, B, C, D, E, F, who have lost all the matches. Both of them have lost all the matches. Again, as of now, I have very little information to start eliminating or making any deductions. So let me just keep these rules in my view. The first usable piece of information comes along and it says D lost to A but won against C and F. So if I look at the round 1 story of D, I know almost everything. Who is he playing against? He is playing against A, he is playing against C, he is playing against F. I also know he lost to A. So let me put a victory sign over A, but won against C and F. So C and F lost. So this is my way of capturing the information. You can go for a bigger, more elaborate table also. But my agenda is to do it in a rough shorthand sort of manner because we don't have too much time, we don't have too much space also to work these things out. So keeping it as short as possible in my own symbolic representation. Very similar information is given for E as well. It says E lost to B but won against C and F. So if I work at E, E is playing against B, C and F. He lost to B, that means B won the game but won against C and F. As I look at this information, even before reading any further, I can make a lot of other table entries as well. So if I think of A for example, I know that he definitely has a match against D and A has won that match or D has lost that match. I also have data for C and F. Let me put C somewhere. I know C is playing against D and D won that match, right? I also see that C is also playing a match against E, so I can also put up E here, and he has lost against E as well, so E has won that match. Don't get lost in this victory defeat right now. I just want to first see who is playing against whom, and in each piece of information you can make more deductions as well. So I'm sorted for C. I can do the same thing for F. I'm putting up F here in the story. F is in a match against D as well as E, so I know that for sure. F has lost against both D and E, so D and E are the victors in the story. So I have some data for F also. Let me think of B also, just running the process. B is definitely playing against E, and I don't know who are the other two people because as of now I can't see any connections. Then it says B lost at least one match. That means B, whoever he is playing against, he lost at least one match. He has already defeated B, so one of the other two matches is going to result in a victory. And the last rule for stage 1 said F did not play against the top stage. F did not play against the top team of stage 1. So F did not play against the top team. Who is the top team? Somebody who has won all the 3 games. So I have this information right now, and let me try and now connect them together. Somewhere in the story said one person won all 3 matches. So if I think of all possibilities A, B, C, D, E, F, and let me start eliminating. If I look at C's story, he has lost 2 matches. So the person who won all 3 matches definitely cannot be C. If I look at D's story also, he has lost 1 match against A. So D cannot be this person who has won all the matches. If I look at E's story, he has also lost a match against B. So E also cannot be this person. F also has lost 2 matches, so F cannot be this person. I was told that B has lost at least 1 match, so B cannot be this person. Therefore, A has to be the person who has won all the 3 matches. And this is a very key step because not only we are trying to work out this problem, we are trying to learn the approach. So I had the rules and then I focused on this rule, observed the information, and I could conclude that A is the person who has won all the 3 matches. Now can I play the same game for this particular piece of information which told me that there are 2 people who have lost all 3 games. So out of these, if I think of possibilities A, B, C, D, E, F, you want whoever is here to lose all the 3 games. A is obviously out because I just concluded that A has won all 3 games. If I look at B, I know B won against E. B won against E. So B is also out of this particular story because I'm looking for people who have lost all 3 matches. For C, right now I don't know who was he competing against. I will come to that information. Maybe some of you have already come to it because the order of approach could be different from person to person. But as of now, say I don't know very clearly about C. But I know D definitely won 2 matches. So D is also out of this story. If I look at E, E has also won 2 matches. So he is also out of this story. I wanted 2 people and I am left with 2 people. So C and F must be those 2 people who have lost all the matches. So I have got this piece of information now. And this is another very good deduction to make, and I have a very good headway in the story. Now after this point, it is fairly workable. Most people should be able to work the story out because I have big pieces of information already. If I read that last rule again, F did not play against the top team of stage 1. So if I look at F story and I look at all possible, because I'm thinking of who is the third person that is playing against F, and I play the same game, that it could be anybody from A to F. F is not playing against the leader of stage 1. Who is the leader of stage 1? A is the leader of stage 1 because whoever he is playing against, he has won all the 3 matches. So F is definitely not playing against A. D and E I have already covered in the story. F himself is ruled out. I am left with B or C as an option. But if I make F play against C, I know both C and F lost their matches. And I want F to lose all his 3 matches. If F plays against C and C wins the match because you want F to lose all 3 matches, C would have a victory, which is not allowed. Therefore, C is also ruled out and you only have B here, and B has won that match here. Once you have this information that B is playing against F, you can put F in this story as well. That means B also played against F and won against F. Same piece of data reflected in B's entry as well. And now I'm thinking about the third player that B competed against, and I can play the same matrix again, that okay, I have A, B, C, D, E and F in the story. And let me run the rules again. D has at least lost a match and B has won these two matches already. That means this person has won the match against B. So it can't be C, can't be F, because that I have already covered. E I have also already covered. D is not competing against B at all. B is out. That means I'm left with A. So A competed against B and won that match. So in A's story, I can put B here. And now if I put A here and C here, my job is done. A will win against C and C will lose against A. So I have a very clear picture now of what exactly happened in round 1. You can capture it in your own way with your own notation, but this is pretty much what happened. C played against D, E and A, and C lost all the 3 matches because his opponents have a victory sign over them, and I can run the same story everywhere. Now let me look at the stage 2 information. It says the leader of stage 1 lost the next 2 matches. Leader of stage 1 was definitely A. He lost the next 2 matches. So I know A has lost the 2 matches. Let me also figure out that who was he competing against. Remember, everybody is supposed to have 5 matches, 3 matches in the first round and the remaining 2 in the second round. A has already played D, B and C. That means out of this story, D, B and C are ruled out. That means A will compete against E and F in the second stage of the story. And I know A has lost these 2 matches. That means E and F have a victory each. I can extend this story and say, okay, in the second round, F must be competing against A and A lost that match. And I can also say E also competed against A and A lost that match. So the second part is going to be very easy to work out. Then it says of the 2 teams at the bottom after stage 1. Who are the 2 teams at the bottom at the end of stage 1? I will figure that out. C and F are at the bottom. Now of the 2 teams at the bottom, one team won both matches while the other team lost both matches. So if I think of F and C somewhere, one of them has won both matches, the other has lost both matches. But if I look at F, I know that F has already won his match against A. That means F must be the person who has won both the matches and C must be the person who has lost both the matches. Even the second part is fairly easy to figure out. If I say F, if I look at F's story, F has already competed against B, E and D. That means only A and C were left. So F must have competed against C and F has won both his matches. So C lost the game. C, that means competed against F. C is a person who has lost both the matches. F won the match. I can figure out who C played against in the other match very easily. Look at C's information. C has competed against A, E and D already. That means only F and B were left. That means B won the match also in the second round because I know C lost the match. I can fill out the story for B. Keep some space. Let me make these signs smaller. Victory, victory. If I look at B story, B has competed against A, E and F. That leaves C and D in the story. B has won against C. This information as of now I don't know. So let me just complete this table for D also. D competed against A, C and F. That means B and E were left to play along. That means B and E were left for the second stage. So even for the second round, most of my data is done. There are a couple of more rules. It says one more team lost both matches in stage 2. So in stage 2, there is one more team. I know C lost both the matches. I already know that A lost both the matches. There is one more team which has lost both the matches. So let me again run that same process again, because essentially this is what I want to practice. So that last rule said one more team lost the round 2 matches. That team cannot be F. That team also cannot be E because I know E has lost a match against A. So E is also ruled out of the story. A was already covered earlier, so I will not think of A. B has also won a match already against C. So B cannot be that person who has lost both the matches. So I'm left with C and D. C's data was given in that earlier rule where it said the bottom two teams C and F already lost the two matches. So C is also covered. That means I'm left with D. That means D lost the two matches. That means B and E won. And if I want to cover it here, D lost the match and E played against D and D lost the match. So now I have the whole story, everything. If you can make, if you can interpret this data or capture this information in your own language, in your own format, but the story is fairly accurate. And now I can move towards the questions. So now let me look at the questions. All the data is here. I just have to carefully go through it, interpret it according to the question. The first question says the teams that won exactly two matches in the event are. I am looking for exactly two victories for the related team. So again, let me go for a very detailed look. If I look at A I know already has 3 victories in round 1. And if I look at A later, he lost the other 2 matches. That means he has 3 victories and 2 losses in the story. All of this detail might not be needed for this question, but I am just working through all of it, and maybe it might come in handy or useful for the later question. So no work is lost as such. So if I look at B's story, B won against E, B won against F, and B won against C and D as well. So B has 4 victories in the story and 1 loss. Look at C's data. C lost thrice in the first round and lost twice in the second round. So C has 5 losses in the story. If I look at D now, D has 2 victories here. D won against C and F. And if I look at D's round 2 data, D lost the matches against B and E. Get comfortable at interpreting the tick and the cross or whatever symbol you are using. So if I look at D's data, he has definitely got 2 victories only in the whole story. So D has 2 victories and 3 losses. I was looking at people who have only 2 victories, so D is definitely one of them. Let me apply the same thing for E and F as well. If I look at E's data, E has 2 victories here. The cross represents a victory for this person. But when I look at E's data in the next round, he has 2 victories here as well. That means E overall has 4 victories and 1 loss. Now let me look at F. F has 3 losses here, but F has 2 victories here. So F is another person who has 2 victories and 3 losses. So my answer for this question would be D and F. Both of them have 2 victories. Both of them have 2 victories each, and my answer would be option E. Actually, this information covers everything. So let me capture it a little more clearly, give it space. So if I look at A has 3 victories and 2 losses. You can confirm it with the table. B has 4 victories and 1 loss. C has 5 losses. D and F, I just figured out, D and F both have 2 victories and 3 losses. And E again has 4 victories and 1 loss. So I have that information covered here more clearly. Now the question can be done very, very quickly. The teams with the most wins in the event, most wins, 4 victories and 4 victories here. That means B and E are the teams with the most wins, and my answer would be option E. The next question was the 2 teams that defeated the leader of stage 1. The leader of stage 1 was A. A played against E and F, and E and F won against A. So the 2 teams that defeated the leader of stage A were E and F. So my answer for this question would be E and F, which is option B. And the next question was the only team or teams that won both the matches in stage 2. So I am looking at 2 crosses in stage 2. F has won both the matches. E has also won both the matches, and if I look at the table more, I will realize that D has done the same. So my answer for this question would be B, E and F, and the answer option would be option Delhi. So that's it, we are done with the set. Once again, it required some work in the beginning, but as the picture gets clearer and clearer, the work becomes easier. So if you count the overall number of deductions in the story, you will see that there are 15 to 20 small deductions, and I'm counting on the lower side. And each deduction in itself is very easy to understand if somebody points it out to you. So you have to run these small deductions over and over again. And when you approach any such question, if you know already that you will have to do this process 15 to 20 small units, then you can be prepared for that. You can have that kind of a mindset and be ready for it. So what you should try and do, even after, let's say you have read the solution or somebody has solved it for you, a day later or so, try the process again. Obviously in the beginning you will make these deductions and then get confused, and then you might have to start over again from the beginning. But as you practice, these errors in the process will be eliminated. That means as you go from set 1 to set 5 to set 15, you will notice that the need to restart over and over again will reduce. You will understand that yes, you have this much information and you can keep building on it, and you will learn to read the rules over and over again. All of this might not make sense in one go. So quickly, as mentioned earlier, quickly reading and understanding at least the basic story, because that's where you can minimize your time if you're good at reading, will definitely help. Otherwise, as mentioned in the beginning, the first day of the course, very small steps, repeated all over again, read the rules, make the deductions, fill out the world picture, and you have your answers at the end in no time.